from Blackjack Apprenticeship, and I'm here with my good friend David, also known as Loud and Often, and we're going to teach you how to count cards at blackjack and bring down the house. Hey, I'm Colin, and this is David, and for roughly 15 years, we've been professional card counters. We've played on our own, we've played as parts of teams. Between the two of us, we've won over $1.5 million, and our teams have won close to $4 million. And we now help teach others how to count cards at Blackjack Apprenticeship. If you want to find out more, you can subscribe to this channel, where we put out weekly trainings and updates and stories and all that stuff. But let's show you how to count cards. First thing you need to know about card counting is it doesn't involve having a great memory. Do you have a terrific memory?
No.
Are you Rain Man?
No.
Are you a rocket scientist?
I am not.
So one of the big misconceptions is that you have incredible photographic memory. You don't need any of those things. It's actually, when we show it to you, it's going to be a lot simpler than you expect, though it does take quite a bit of time to become perfect at. First step is perfect basic strategy. Do you know how to play basic strategy?
Yes.
Inside and out?
Yes.
How long would you say it took you to get basic strategy down?
A few weeks, a couple hours a day.
Do you know a winning card counter that doesn't know basic strategy?
No.
It's really important that you don't just think, hey, I can learn card counting and go beat the casinos. You have to first know basic strategy. But once you have that down, the next step is going to be learning what's called the running count. First step to card counting is going to be assigning a value to every card. So this card counting system I'm going to explain is called high-low. It's what we have always used and what basically every major card counting team has used to beat casinos. And what we're going to do here is I have a fourth of a deck, a 2 through ace of spades. So 4 of these, 1 of these in every suit would be 1 deck of cards. And what we're going to do is separate these into different values. So we're going to have 2 through 6, which are going to be our low cards. And those are going to be given a value of +1. So every time you see a 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6, you're going to add 1 to your running count. Over here we have 10 through ace. So every time you see a 10, jack, queen, king, or ace, we're going to subtract 1. These are our high cards. And then 7, 8, and 9, these are neutral cards. They're going to be assigned the value of 0, or you can basically ignore them with your running count. So I've got our quarter of a deck of spades here, and I'm going to flip these over, and David's just going to count through them as we go.
-1. 0. Still 0. 1. 0. Still 0. Still 0. 1. 0. -1. -2. -1.
So at this point, David's saying we have a -1 running count. There's 1 card left. And so because high-low always ends at a 0, we know that this is going to be what kind of a card?
A low card.
A low card, which is a 2 through 6. And all right, so it's a 4. So we know he was keeping his count accurately. This is called the running count. And we just do this for every card as it comes out of the shoe, from the very beginning of the shoe until the dealer shuffles, and that's the first step. So this is keeping the running count. We're going to be doing what David just did for every card as it's played. And the nice thing about high-low is because it always starts and ends at 0, because it's a balanced count, and because it's a pretty good, stable, versatile count, you can use this exact same system, whether you're playing 1 deck, 2 decks, 6 decks, 8 decks. We've played it all, and we always use high-low. So you're going to be counting every card, whether it's the other player's cards, your own cards, the dealer's cards. You're going to be counting everything until that cut card comes out. So let's show you a few examples of what this is going to look like, keeping the running count as it's dealt. Here's our first example round, and I actually don't recommend counting until the second card is being dealt to each player. So then right here we would say 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, 2. And so we have a 2 because this is a neutral, this is a 0. And one thing that's really nice, a shortcut, is if you have a high and a low card, like this hand or this hand, these actually just cancel each other out. So the other way you would count it is 1, 2, cancel, cancel, still a running 2. And then at this point, you would count each card as it comes out with splits and all that stuff. So at this point we have a running 2, and now you're going to count as every card comes out of the shoe. So we have +2, and then 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, 0, 1, 2, and a running 2. Now we're going to keep that running count into the second round. So we have a running 2, and again, wait for the second card to come out. So we have 2, 1, 0. Those are both zeros. -1, -2, and -1. This player's going to stay. This player's going to stay. He's got a blackjack. So we have -1, -2, and -3. And we don't say negative. We say D for down, like D3. It's just a little bit faster to say, a little bit easier to do. And we're going to keep that running count, that -3, into the third round. Again, waiting for the second card. Cancel, so we're still at D3, -3, -2, -1, -2, -1. He's going to stay, he's going to double. So now we're at 0, -1, and we're at -1. So this is what we're going to continue to do round after round as the count fluctuates, going more positive or more negative. As it goes more positive, that's going to give us the information we're going to need to know when we have the advantage and how to play accordingly. As it goes more negative, the advantage goes further to the casino, and we're going to use that information to our advantage as well. What's the point of what we've been doing so far with the running count? Let's say we're seeing the cards go into the discard tray and the running count is changing. What does that even mean for us?
If more low cards are coming out, it means there's more high cards in the shoe yet to come, which helps the player.
That's right. So this is how blackjack is fundamentally different than every other game in a casino. Every other game is based on independent events, like a throw of the dice or a spin of the roulette wheel. Those are independent events. But if a bunch of small cards have come out of the shoe, those aren't going to be in play again until the dealer shuffles. What we know is that what's in here correlates to what remains in the shoe. So like David said, if the count is going high because lots of small cards have come out, that means lots of what kind of cards?
High cards.
Yeah, tens and aces are going to be coming out of the shoe, which is good for the player. It's not enough yet, but that tells you where we're going. Conversely, if lots of high cards have come out, lots of tens and aces, what does that mean for the player?
Bad news.
Bad news, that's right. The casino's advantage is going higher and higher, which is not good for us. So at this point, we're keeping our running count, but that's not going to be enough for us because that only tells us in the entire shoe how the composition of the shoe is changing. But there's a big difference if, let's say, we have a running 10, and if you look at this discard tray, there's a bad deck there. That means there's 5 decks left. So if there's a running 10 with 5 decks left, that's going to be very different than if we have a running 10 with only 1 deck left to be dealt. So what we have to do at this point is convert to our count per deck, or what we call the true count. And you might be getting overwhelmed saying, what else do I have to do? But it's really some 4th grade division. And what we're going to do is take that running count that David's been keeping this entire shoe and divide it by how many decks remain to be dealt. So this is a 6-deck discard tray. Here we have 1 deck in there. That means there are 5 decks that remain to be dealt. Let's give you a few examples of converting to the true count. So David, let's say we've got a running 15 right now. What would that mean for us in terms of the true count?
Well, I've got 5 decks left. 15 divided by 5 is 3.
So our true count in this situation, if we had a running count of 15, would be a true 3. And that will dictate how we bet and even playing decisions, which I'll get to in a minute. And as soon as you make that calculation, it's going to determine your bets, your playing decisions, and then you just go right back to that running count of
15.
That's right. Here's another example. There's about 3 decks in the discard tray. That means there are
3 decks left.
3 decks left. So let's say we have a running -7.
-7 divided by 3 is -2.
So in this situation, we would have a true count of -2, and David would be saying,
I'm going to go make a phone call.
that's right. He's going to step away from the table because this is a bad situation for a card counter. Let's do one more example. So in this situation, we've got about 4 decks that have been dealt, 4 decks in the discard tray. Let's say we have a running 9.
So 9 divided by 2 decks left is 4.
Even though it's technically 4.5, we would just round it down to a true 4. And that is going to be a pretty good count for us. And so that's going to determine our bets here. The fourth step as a card counter is to use this information to determine both our bets and our playing deviations, which are going to be times where we actually don't follow basic strategy based on the running count or true count. So perfect basic strategy, perfect running count, perfect true count conversion gives us enough information to actually gain the edge over the casino. It's not easy, but it can be done. So this gives you an overview of how to count cards, but to be honest, there is a lot more you need to learn. That's what we're here for. If you want to subscribe below, you'll get our weekly updates. You can check out the channel where we've got tons of videos on card counting and beating blackjack. Also at BlackJackApprenticeship.com, we have a free card counting mini course where you can learn more, and I get into some more examples of how to count cards, to how to make it easier, how to be faster at it, as well as how to think like a card counter and all the common mistakes to avoid as a new card counter. Check that out at BlackJackApprenticeship.com.